Let's talk movies. Alright guys, so this is a little bit of a different video. I don't really talk about movies a whole lot on my channel, but I thought I'd switch it up. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. Alright, so let's start off with Halloween 2018. Now this was probably one of the first ever horror movies that I really liked and that I was drawn to. Michael Myers is probably one of my favorite killers, which is kind of crazy to say, but horror icons, I think. I was just so drawn to Michael Myers because of the simplicity of him and just how creepy he was at the same time. Surprisingly, what got me drawn to Michael Myers was this mask specifically by Trick or Treat Studios. I remember seeing it in 2023, and in Canadian it's $100, which is definitely quite expensive, but I just knew I had to have it, and I'm just so excited I have it. Michael Myers was probably the first horror icon that I resonated with. There is no specific reason why, I just liked his creepiness, that he didn't talk. There was nothing crazy about him. He just looked creepy, and I think that's why I like him so much. So for my number 5 movie, we have Halloween 2018. Alright, so for my number 4 movie, we have Terrifier. So I actually have the Art the Clown animatronic behind me, and Art the Clown is probably one of the coolest clowns, aside from Pennywise, which I'm going to be mentioning later on in this video. He is probably the creepiest, goriest killer that I've probably ever seen. I like the fact that Art the Clown kind of plays with his victims and messes with them and kind of has fun. I know that kind of sounds a little gross, but I find it oddly funny at the same time. He's just such a cool character. His movies are very, very gory, but as a character, Art the Clown is amazing, and that's why I have him at my number 4 movie. Alright, so for my number 3 movie, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I remember watching the kill count from Dead Meat when I was probably like 11 or 12 years old, realistically, and I was just so drawn to Killer Clowns from Outer Space and how realistic they looked, and they looked so cool at the same time. Now, I don't have any small props of theirs that I can put on my skeleton guy here. I do have the big slim animatronic, but that's just too much to move at the moment. But Killer Clowns from Outer Space is probably an easy number 3 movie for me. I love the clowns, like I just said before. I like their mouth movements, and I mean, the movie is just super cringy, but also super awesome, the way that they made everything, and it was on a very small budget as well. One of my favorite things from the movie is probably the cotton candy cocoons. Those things are so awesome. I hope to eventually own at some point a really realistic Killer Clowns from Outer Space costume. I think that would be an awesome thing to add to my collection. Hopefully soon I can add in some new props and stuff into my room from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, because I don't have a whole lot, like I just mentioned before, but there's so many horror movies and horror items that I would like to have in my room. Just don't have the space for them at the moment. But again, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is my number 3 movie. In my number 2 spot, we have It. Now, this is not the original It. This is the 2017 remake with Bill Skarsgård. Now, personally, this has to be my comfort movie. I fall asleep to this movie. It is probably, I mean, I'm going to have to say about all of them, probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love the way that Pennywise looks, and I mean, it's just an amazing movie. The actors do an amazing job to really make you feel immersed, and I just love it so much. I think It is one of my favorite movies because of its elaborate story and just kind of what you have to follow. Now, when you originally watched the first 2017 movie, you kind of know the basics, and as you go on to It Chapter 2, as well as It Welcome to Derry, where it kind of gives you a backstory on Pennywise, I think it really just immerses you even more into the series, and I think that is awesome, and I love that they did that. Again, for probably not the last time, It is probably one of my favorite movies of all time, so that's why it's in my number 2 spot. And for my last movie, we have Scream. Scream was the first horror movie I ever watched, and I will always have that connection with it. I think it is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Ghostface has to be one of my favorite killers. I love the mystery in it, and I remember binge watching all of the Scream movies from Scream 1 to 5. That's what we had released at the time, and I just fell in love with all the movies. I loved all the killers. They were all great in their own ways. and I'm just super happy to own some of my Ghostface memorabilia. I have a full Ghostface 25th anniversary mask and costume as well, so I'm super happy that I own that. Scream has to be my favorite movie of all time. It's just I have such a big connection with it. I think why I like Scream so much is his mask, to be honest. I think his mask is just so iconic. Same with Michael Myers. I think that's why I love Halloween as well. But his mask is so iconic, and I just love Scream so much. Fun fact for you guys, when they were planning on making Scream, they originally planned on having a white robe instead of the black robe, which I find actually pretty crazy. I think it makes sense to have the black robe, and I think it looks really awesome. And I love to see all the different costume variants that have come out over the years. Overall, those are my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. You guys let me know down in the comments below what your guys' top 5 favorite horror movies are, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.